Over the last 87 days since Nancy Guthrie went missing, I the question in my mind has changed from who took Nancy Guthrie to how did whoever took Nancy Guthrie get away with this? Because the reality, at least I think, the reality is it's actually very difficult to get away with a crime like this. Now I know I don't want to maybe belittle the efforts of law enforcement, but they're so good, right? They're so good at it. Um, it's hard to get away with a crime like this unless you are super, super smart. And the videos that we see, man, Gavin, you should have gotten the button ready for you. Make it easier on yourself and everybody. Give me a second. Let me push the right button here. There we go. Um, the image that we see. Oh, Gavin. Okay, if you're listening to this on a podcast, you're doing yourself a favor. The visuals I'm having a hard time with today. There we go. Okay. You know what? No, I will explain what has been happening today in just a minute. But anyway, you have to be a really smart criminal to get away with crime. At least I think, because investigators are just so good at investigating crime. They've got so much collective experience over the centuries that they're just very good at capturing their man or woman. Usually man, let's be honest, when it comes to crime. But why did this guy get away with it? And I have some theories that I'm willing to talk about, theories that I'm willing to share with you tonight. In addition to that, we've got several other things that we want to talk about. There is a retired FBI agent who is telling News Nation that the evidence in the Nancy Guthrie case would light a fire on social media, but doesn't amount to much in actual investigative terms. We've got a warning from Ed Smart, the father of Elizabeth Smart, who is warning us against maybe something in our nature as true crime enthusiasts. What do we have? We've got 3 questions. We've got 3 really good questions you guys have sent in to 3questions@gavinfish.com. We've got a couple of headlines, including good news, which I forgot to do yesterday. I had to run off to Courtroom Confidential, and I just completely forgot to give you guys some good news. So we got a 10-gallon show, got to fit it into a 5-gallon bucket. And yeah, I'll tell you what's been happening with me today. Stay with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with yours truly. My name is Gavin Fish. Call me Gavin. Everybody does. Don't call me Gav. Nobody does that. I go by Gavin. I don't feel like I'm a terribly formal person, but I don't like being called Gav. And when anybody says Gav, it's an indicator to me that they want to be familiar, which is good, but that they aren't, because if they were, they would know. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule on this, guys. There are exceptions to every rule. My mom, my dad, they can call me whatever they want. I've got old friends that have known me since I was just like a wee young lad. They call me Gavin. It's actually pretty cute. But why did I get off on this tangent? I don't know. Oh, I do know. It's because somebody on Facebook, on my personal Facebook, called me Gav today, and it turned me sideways. Oh, guys, I'm not feeling well. I called in sick to work today. I think I had like a full-on fever overnight. Man, just did not feel well. So I gotta say, I was dreading, like, I gotta do the live stream. I do this Monday through Friday, try really hard not to miss a day. But I wasn't feeling up for it. I pushed myself to do it, and I'm glad I'm here. I love it. I love, I love this. This is my favorite part-time job. All right. Hey, wherever you are joining me from, please put it in the comments. I like to know where you guys are watching from. I like to see how near and far you are. So definitely put that in the comments. And let's start off tonight. Let me go over to my notes. There were a couple things, couple of things that I just wanted to prepare myself as maybe prompts for conversation, because the video I titled, "This is how Nancy Guthrie's Kidnapper pulled this off." This is how did? Oh my goodness. This is how Nancy Guthrie's Kidnapper pulled this off. That's what I called it. You have to refresh. I messed it up. But this is how Nancy Guthrie's Kidnapper pulled this off. Now, of course, guys, it's speculation. It's opinion. I don't know how he pulled it off, or they. But I've got a couple of ideas that I want to share with you. And I want you guys to share with me in the comments what you think. Keeping in mind that the criminal mastermind, in my opinion anyway, really doesn't exist. They're few and far between, right? They are the holy grail of criminals. There just aren't that many. There are some that aren't all that smart, but they know the rules, right? They're like, we never talk, we never, that, and I guess they are disciplined. They know the rules and they're disciplined. Maybe that's it. But not a lot of smart criminals out there. Of course, maybe we only capture the dumb ones, and maybe there are tons of smart criminals out there. But when I see pictures like this one, where there's a bemasked fellow with a flashlight in his mouth and a handful of shrubbery that he just picked out of the front yard of the house that he is now attempting to enter, and indeed will successfully do shortly after this photo was taken, I think this guy isn't all that bright. Doesn't seem all that bright. And so, okay, let's go back over to, okay, let's talk about the camera. Okay, let's talk about the camera. In fact, I think on my thumbnail I said the camera wasn't an accident, and I'm talking about this moment right here, where he's got some greenery, some shrubbery, and he's trying to, I think, just obscure the camera. He might be trying to use it as, like, to put it behind the camera and pull the camera off of the wall, perhaps. I don't know what it is that he's doing here, other than, I mean, he just doesn't seem all that smart. But there have been story after story after story about investigators talking about internet disruptions. And I think that this was planned out, that there was an internet disruption that night, and that, I don't know, maybe he just got a little bit nervous. Is it possible he just kind of got a little bit nervous? It's like, okay, you'd think that he'd bring a tool in that Ozark backpack that he was wearing, some paint or some tape or something to pry it off the wall. But I think with the internet outage, maybe he is just thinking, this doesn't really matter because I'm not captured on this anyway, because it's not connected to the internet. Which also kind of shows me the whole idea that this person doesn't know a lot about caching, doesn't understand that things are stored locally before they're transmitted. And when the internet connection does inevitably come back, it will be uploaded. I don't know. I'm caught between two thoughts here. Either this guy is smart enough to get away with this, which he has for 87 days, or he's a dill hole and is just doesn't know what to do. And in my opinion, I think between those two things, yeah, I think he probably had this really well planned out. That's just what I thought. So, NBC reported that investigators were asking neighbors about internet disruptions. Fox News had a long discussion on Wi-Fi jammer theory, limitations of RF jammers. News Nation even had a tech CEO explaining how signal jammers work. There was the report of the utility box that was damaged or broken into. There's tons of, I guess, clues to, or that would indicate to us that even though this guy is like on video trying to use leaves and branches and such to cover up or pry off or do something to that Nest camera, the fact remains that we're 87 days later, and I don't think we're closer. I don't know this, but it appears that we're no closer to finding Nancy Guthrie. That's good time to check in to see what you guys are saying. And then I will move on to my next idea. We got Austin, Texas in the house. Thank you very much for being here, Miss Chivos Dragon. It's good to see you. Western Maryland. Mooney's in Western Maryland with her grandson. Awesome, Mooney. Congratulations. Just outside Butcher Holler. I was born a coal miner's daughter. Great. I've never been to Butcher Holler. Very cool. Let's see. Keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on going. Scrolly. Stanhope, New Jersey is here. Montana is in the house. Thank you for being here. Scotch's mom shouting out Javi. Autumn is blaming Javi. Javi, yeah, with the buttons. Javi should have had that. Javi, let's be honest. You should have. That's something that we talked about in the pre-show, right? You should have had that. You should have had that done. But you know what? You're still new on the job, Javi, and it's not like I'm a professional. It's fine. It's fine. Rhonda says, big hugs and love to everyone from the hometown of Red Skelton. Very nice. Melissa Navon says, Guthrie's got very unlucky. The sheriff department bumbled this from day one. Hey, that is actually like an astute observation. Of course, this is something I should have brought up, right? It's like, hello. Yeah. This sheriff's department does not seem to either be led or equipped to handle something like this. Just doesn't seem that way. Where else are you guys checking in from? Michigan is in the house. Thank you for being here, Michigan. We got Colleen says, caught you in a live today. Made my day. Well, thank you very much. Jenny says, guess what song was stuck in my head all day? Hey, don't blame me. Blame the person who asked the question in 3 questions. And Jenny, I'm sorry. Wisconsin is in the house. Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is in the house. Are we talking, are you like an actual porteño? Or are you a bonaerense? You tell me. You tell me. LA is here. South Lake Tahoe is here. South Carolina, thank you for being here. Beth is saying that I look flushed. I need to keep drinking H2O. Thank you. Got lots of water, and I have been hydrating myself really well today. I had one of those nights where I guess sheriff doesn't need to be up. I had one of those nights where I had a like a fever or something. I was freezing cold, and then I was in a sweat, and I was freezing cold, and I was in a sweat. When I weighed myself on the scale, which is something that I have been doing every day since August 28th, I was almost 5 pounds down from the previous morning, which means, and I had spent the whole day drinking lots of water. I was well hydrated. So man, I had lost a lot of moisture, of hydration in the night. I haven't felt well today. Not at all. Jacksonville here, Atlanta here. Thank you. Michigan, land of Spartans. Johannesburg. Joburg may be, Estelle, you may be the farthest away from me. Northern Georgia mountains. Louisville, Kentucky is here. The UK is here. And Carrie says, in my opinion, the Nest camera may be a ruse. May be a ruse. And that is actually, if I remember my notes correctly, give me a second. I think there are people that are reporting the same kind of thing, right? That camera interaction could have been staged. Possible. Great comment. Thank you very much. Philly in the house. Helena, Montana in the house. Rhonda, yeah, thank you very much. I hope I get feeling better soon too, and I'm glad that I'm here. Dandy Lioness, criminals are idiots and aren't usually masterminds. That is true. Central Florida is here. Onargo, Illinois, the Midwest nursery capital. Western Maryland. Bluegrass State. You guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, so speaking of the ruse thing, let's talk about this. Was this crime? And I'm gonna bring up these videos and just play them. Like, was this crime more coordinated than it appears? Right? Because it appears like these are dill holes, or this is a dill hole. Is it actually more coordinated? Is it like the A-team where you've got, you got all these different parts of a team that are able to do different things, and together they can just get anything done? Did they have Murdoch up on the telephone pole, patching in and stuff like that? Was this video that we're watching of the guy on the Nest doorbell cam with the shrubbery, is this just a ruse to leave information that doesn't lead anywhere, right? The Ozark backpack. Oh, look how convenient. I mean, he just turns around perfectly, shows that Ozark backpack. Are they smart? Guys, I really don't think so. Was this camera interaction staged? I don't know. Does the crime scene and what we know about it, does it suggest that they were familiar with this house, right? Lots of people think, including myself, that there are multiple offenders going after Mrs. Guthrie. How did they pull it off? And I think the other part of this that I guess troubles me is that we've got over $1 million in reward money out there. And with that kind of money, you'd think that would break a team apart, right? Somebody would go, yeah, I know where they buried her body, or I know where they kept her, or I know where they took her. And for $1 million, yeah, I'll turn on my collaborators. But that hasn't happened. So again, for me, and I'm caught between two opinions on this, right? It makes me go back and forth. Was it multiple people? How do you pick up an elderly woman and just carry her out, especially if she's struggling? Maybe she's not struggling. Maybe she's unconscious. Maybe she's been hit. She bled out not bled out, but she bled on the front porch. So maybe she's not struggling, but she's still hard, heavy weight, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they pulled this off. I just don't know how this crime could be pulled off except for the 87 or the bumbling police. Maybe that's it. And you know what, guys? Uh Here. Look. I am pro police. Like, I am pro good policing and pro good investigators. I, of course, I'm not a person who gives loyalty to a person or an organization and that loyalty is absolute. I'm a person that, like, I try to be loyal to the truth and to what is good and right, not to a specific person or organization. But in general, I am grateful for our police forces around the nation. I That doesn't mean that I don't have specific rules that I follow when interacting with police, right? I don't talk. I avail myself of my rights. But I'm grateful for them. But can you think of any other police department where somebody has gotten away with a horrible, horrible, horrible crime because the police were just bumbling idiots? Can you think of anyone? Here, I'll give you hey, Wanda, can you give us like just a little, just I don't know, just 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 a little music to think on this for a second? Okay. Okay, that's it, Wanda. That's all they get. That's all they get. The most obvious one to me is Ellen Greenberg, right? Ellen Greenberg for sure. These are police officers that went in and went like, oh yeah, she did this to herself. Let's not investigate this properly. And then her body gets back to the medical examiner's office and she's been stabbed in the back of her head and neck 10 times. Right? That sort of thing happens. And I don't have a graphic to pull up, but Amanda Winkowski is another one of those. Yeah, it's just another one of those where in that case it was it was the opposite. The police seem to be doing a pretty darn good job at the medical examiner's office. Like, dumb. So it happens. It might just be that the way that the perpetrators, the attackers, the assaulters of Nancy Guthrie have gotten away with this just because the Pima County Sheriff's Department was not equipped to handle the case. And maybe it's that easy. Love to hear your comments on it. Let me go down through the comments. I think there are a lot where you put GF in the comments. That helps me to see what it is that you want to say. For example, Coffee Time for D says justice for Javi, not paid and overworked. What do you mean not paid? Javi, are you now? Of course, you guys can't hear Javi's response, but I'm going to give it to you verbatim because he doesn't have a microphone in his booth. Javi, are you underpaid? Javi says no. Javi is not underpaid. Javi, are you overworked? Javi says no. Javi's not overworked. He gets overworked on days where I have lots of take twos, but no, justice for Javi. That's funny. Antis says, hey, from Salt Lake Valley, Utah. P.S. Hope we get to talk to Uncle Gavin again soon. Yeah, Uncle Gavin appears from time to time. Let's see. Antis says, note when he walks up there, no weeds, nor is there her blood. So we know this was before she was injured. Well, do we see? I don't know that we would see her blood there, but there's nothing obvious blood. Yeah, I think this is beforehand for sure. See what else is saying. Sherry says, I have thought from day one that as he approached the door, he was knocking, then was like, oh, dang it, a camera. But The problem with that one, that idea, Sherry, and not to poke holes in it, but because you might be right, but this picture came from a different day. Maybe he just didn't see the camera. Maybe it's dark at night. He doesn't have a flashlight. Maybe he doesn't see the camera on that day. It's possible. So he's like, "Yep, I'm gonna knock on the door. She's gonna open it. I'm gonna go inside and do my dirty deed." Oh, dang it! There's a camera. Possible. I guess that's possible. Yeah, Orange Chicken, John O'Keefe. That's another great example. Yes. Lisa Akins says, "Did you see where one investigator said the blood spatters on front porch were only spattered from a foot high, possibly coughed since a couple spatters had a red ring, a cough with air and blood?" I did see that, and I think we did that. I read that as part of headlines over the last few days. Sometime I did see that, and the idea that some have come to is that she was facing down when that happened, and then he like picked her up, rolled her over so that she was facing up, and carried her off. And that's why there's no blood trail down the front stoop. Here's a thesis from Coffee Time for D. I still think it was a botched robbery. I think that's why it was 40 minutes. They couldn't find what they were looking for, and she woke up for something. Yeah, was it just something that simple? Why take her though? Why take her, D, if they just went in for the robbery? Maybe they had their masks off or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, now we have a witness." Maybe. Archangel says, "If that was a different day, maybe the guy was testing the water on that occasion." Could be. Tina says, "I was thinking the blood was planted purposefully to alarm everyone. Who knows?" Just Ducky hooking us up, starting us out with a super chat. Thank you, Ducky. You are awesome. Appreciate that. Okay. I found an article that I wanted to share with you from News Nation. Got a couple articles that I want to share with you today. This one written by Patrick Djordjevic, written by Patrick. Nancy Guthrie evidence would light a fire online, but have little or no value, ex-agent says. Investigators on the Nancy Guthrie disappearance case have likely obtained a trove of... Javi, take two. Have likely obtained a trove of information, albeit of minimal benefit, retired FBI agent Steve Moore believes. Mystery still surrounds the disappearance, with the FBI or Pima County Sheriff's Office yet to name a suspect or suspects. Guthrie, 84, was last seen January 31, leaving a family dinner and heading back to her Tucson, Arizona home. Quote, "If they had significant information, they would have more progress on the case," Moore told News Nation's Brian Enton. Continuing the quote, "I think what you would find is if you could go in and get briefed by 4 or 5 different agents who are working on it, you would find so much information that ultimately turned out to be of little or no value, but seemed so promising at the time. It would probably light a fire on social media if the public knew these things, and it would light a fire that would not be helpful," he added. Moore also suggested that it could have been a solo kidnapping. No, he suggested while it could have been a solo kidnapping, it is equally possible that multiple people were involved in Guthrie's disappearance. Quote, "Some people very rightly say that it's hard to imagine a single person doing this, but at the same time, you can't put your weight down on the ice," Moore said. I don't follow the metaphor, Mr. Moore. Let's continue. "In my opinion, the finest investigative organization in the world is having trouble with this case. So I don't want to sit here on the internet and say I would have done this differently, or I would have done, I believe, this and this and this. I think both are possible. I think it's more likely statistically that it was 2 people. But when you go back and you look at a lot of the famous kidnapping cases in history, Occasionally they are frequently, occasionally they are, and frequently they are sole individuals, close quote. More noted kidnappings involving an individually. I am having a hard time today. Javi, you're going to have a lot of extra work before we upload this to Spotify. By the way, if you're a Spotify premium member and you're watching on the Rewatch crew, thank you so much. That helps me so much. I can't even tell you. Guys, here, let's do a little inside baseball here for a second. And this is a bit of a tangent for sure. Okay. This is inside baseball. I don't know if you guys care about this, but I enjoy this job so much. Like, today is an exception day in that I don't feel well, but I still came and did it because this is something that I enjoy doing. This is something I really love. Okay. So a content creator on YouTube typically makes between $2 and $4 for every 1,000 views that they get. Okay. For a content creator like me, it's a little higher because we do longer content. So there are more commercial breaks, right? And this is so inside baseball. But so it's typically more. Usually it's about, for me, right, lately it's been around $7. Okay. And that includes the super chats, the super stickers, all. It's not just advertising. For me, it's been about $7 per 1,000 views. On Spotify, it's approaching $40. And so if you're in the Rewatch crew, $40 per 1,000 views. So if you're on the Rewatch crew and you want to help me out, and you're a premium video member on Spotify, I don't want you to go out and have to like change your life and change your habits and stuff like that. But let's say you are on Spotify as a premium video member and you're also on my Rewatch crew. I would love it if you would watch on Spotify. It'd be so great. That's a tangent, such a tangent. But yeah, I don't know. You guys are invested in me as much as I'm invested in this work, right? And it's because of you who watch and share and like, and occasionally, like, you're Patreon member or YouTube member, you're taking care of me because you're awesome and you've bought in, right? So I want to give you those little tidbits of inside baseball. Okay. Let's see. More noted kidnappings involving an individual generally involve the capture of an infant or child with the responsibility of holding someone against their will. Footage from the doorbell camera of Guthrie's home captured a masked person who appeared to tamper with the camera at the front of the house on Sunday, February 1st. Tamper is their description, I guess, of holding up shrubbery in front of it. But yeah, they're tampering it, and it's a good enough description. But yeah, so I mean, even an FBI agent, a former FBI agent. Gavin, calm down. Take some water. Take some water. Drink some water. Javi will edit this out in post. Even a very experienced retired FBI special agent like Mr. Moore doesn't know. Could be one person, could be multiple people. Says likely there's tons and tons and tons and tons of evidence. Most of it means nothing. This reminds me, speaking of Ellen Greenberg, one of the things I did in the Ellen Greenberg case is I published some surveillance video, not surveillance, a security camera video from the apartment complex where Ellen Greenberg lived with her fiance, Sam Goldberg. And there was a part of it showed what appeared to be an employee of the apartment complex pick up a piece of trash on the lobby, on the floor of the lobby. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, a guy picked up a piece of trash. And then, one of my viewers was like, hey, that guy That guy, you think he's in cahoots with Sam Goldberg? Because Sam Goldberg dropped something, and then he came in and picked it up. Was that a dead drop? Was he picking up information? Were they collaborating? And in my heart of hearts, I was like, that is the stupidest theory I've ever heard in my life. But also, I don't have any frame of reference here, right? So I reach out to a very experienced investigator, and he goes, Gavin, that is the stupidest theory I've ever heard in my life, right? It gets really easy for those of us without training to get focused on something that does not matter. It does not move the case forward. And the way it was explained to me by that investigator is you triage information. What is the most important piece of information? What is the least important piece of information? And order everything from most important to least important, and you chase the most important leads first, right? So, yeah, I'm sure Mr. Moore is right when he says there's a treasure trove of information here. None of it really matters, or most of it doesn't even really matter. So, I guess they will continue. Now, I found this article from yesterday on Newsweek. Is it written by? It doesn't say who wrote it. But the headline reads, Ed Smart warns against Nancy Guthrie family conspiracy theories. Do you guys know who Ed Smart is? Ed Smart is the father of Elizabeth Smart, who, as a young girl, was kidnapped out of their home in the night by a person that they had hired to work on the house. Made international news. In fact, Elizabeth Smart, I just saw recently, is competing in bodybuilding competitions now. She looks amazing. Like the amount of discipline that a person has to do that. My goodness. Good honor. I love it. This is a tangent too, but maybe it's not worthy of the bumper music, but I love when a person will get locked in. Just say, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to go for it. Right. I just love that. But so Elizabeth Smart, I think you're awesome. Here is the article from Newsweek about Ed Smart. Okay. Ed Smart, the father of Elizabeth Smart, is speaking out against conspiracy theories being spread about Nancy Guthrie's family being involved in the 84-year-old's disappearance as the investigation into her whereabouts nears the 3-month mark. Hey, if anybody had any experience on having to deal with conspiracy theories about family being involved in the disappearance of a loved one, it would be the Smart family, right? Ed Smart would be at the top of the list here. And hey, I was on with Joshua Ritter yesterday, and we talked about this quite a lot because we were talking about Nick Reiner, the Reiner family asking us to temper our speculation with humanity and compassion. That is something that has stuck with me ever since I read that from the statement from the Reiner family. And it's something that perfectly encapsulates what we try to do here, right? We're speculating. So far, what are we? We're 38 minutes and 32 seconds into this, and I have been speculating for sure. But we want those speculations to be tempered, right? Ease it back, rein it in. Use your pinkies, rein it in, and temper your speculation with humanity and compassion. It's okay to have theories. It's okay to speculate, but be human and humane about it and compassionate about it. Okay. Elizabeth was kidnapped as a teenager in 2002 and held captive for 9 months before she was rescued. Afterward, her father has worked to strengthen laws regarding child protection and missing children. He also continues to be a public voice, commenting on other high-profile missing persons cases. Quote, I think that it's really important to, one, not go into conspiracy theories. I don't think there's much value in that. Of course, the Guthries have been looked at, Smart told News Nation in a Friday interview. Continuing the quote, They've supposedly been cleared, so that should no longer really be out there in the public. Smart added that he believes authorities should continue to keep the public up to date on their investigation. Quote, hopefully, they will help to bring more information out so that there's more interest in furthering this. But I think keeping Nancy's face out there, more information about Nancy is really key. I should have this up. Sorry about that. Being able to keep your eyes open for the possibilities, he said. And actually, that is very well spoken. It's it's one of the main drivers of my decision to continue to talk about Nancy Guthrie, because we still don't know where she is. And we've still got to keep her face out there. People need to remember we've got a missing octogenarian, and we've got a family of children and grandchildren and other loved ones, friends, church co-congregants and neighbors, and so many people that care about her, and we don't know where she is. So let's keep her face out there, keep her story going, keep going after it without harassing anyone. I should put that in there. No harassment. Let's see if there's anything. Let's see. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos announced in February that the Guthrie family, including all siblings and spouses, have, quote, been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in the case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it's cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple, Nanos said in a statement. And then there's more background that it shares. Here's our buddy Jen. Retired FBI agent Jen Coffindaffer said, conspiracy theorists are very detrimental to an investigation. Quote, they flood the tip lines with all of their theories. They never have any facts, but they have these nonsensical roadmaps as to why they think all of these individuals are in cahoots to commit a crime like abduction of Nancy Guthrie, Coffindaffer told Newsweek on Monday. She said conspiracy theories are also being spread through the internet. Quote, they have YouTube shows. They're on X. They're on Instagram. They're on TikTok. And all that does is stir up speculation, and it causes targets to be put on innocent people like the Guthrie family, Coffindaffer said. And you know what? Oh, dang it. I don't have this up for you guys to see. If those people that have YouTube shows and are on X and on Instagram and on TikTok that are stirring up speculation and causing targets to be put on the backs of innocent people, like the Guthrie family, those people need to temper their speculation with humanity and compassion, right? Walk the line between, keeping her face out there, keeping her story out there, making it important, keeping it in the zeitgeist, and then rampantly speculating and just stirring people up. I get it though. Stirring people up, you make way more money stirring people up than being calm and collected and cool and compassionate and human. I get it. Just we need to stop. We need to stop crossing the line. Jennifer continues, people still will not accept anything other than their own bias for that narrative. And then what they end up doing is seeking others who have the same bias, and it just mushrooms out into a place where it is now, where you just can't convince anyone, she said. Coffindaffer said law enforcement must still follow up on all tips, even those rooted in conspiracy theories. Quote, it absolutely pulls from resources that can be used to actually track down leads that are more important, and that can possibly lead to something, she said. So that's the number one problem, is conspiracy theorists love to call the FBI and local law enforcement and absolutely flood the tip lines. Guys, don't do that. If you have been guilty of doing that in the past, see the light, repent, make a switch. Stop doing that. Okay? And I think the rest of the article is just stuff that we already know. Call 88-CRIME. They're offering $102,500 for the arrest of a person or persons involved in the disappearance. The FBI is offering $100,000, and the Guthrie family is offering a reward of up to $1 million after that leads to the recovery of her mother, of their mother and grandmother. Right. So though we speculate, we temper that. And then I wanted to bring this, this was brought up in a comment, right? But we talked about this yesterday briefly. This is an article from Mike Ruiz, a guy that I hold in high esteem, a very good reporter. He said the blood spatter on Nancy Guthrie's front porch suggests a single abductor took her out of her home, according to a former FBI profiler. Quote, if there was no blood spatter pattern inside the house, then outside by the front door or while she was going through the door is where she put up a fight or refused to go any further. Retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Jim Clementi told Fox News Digital Monday. This is where she was assaulted, most likely struck in the nose or mouth. She fell to her knees or on the ground, aspirated, then coughed up blood, which also dripped around the same spot. Sources with knowledge of the case previously told Fox News Digital there were no signs of struggle inside. A masked intruder appeared on doorbell camera video taken at Guthrie's front porch, and her back door was found propped open. Authorities have said they have not ruled out the possibility that multiple people could have been involved in the suspected kidnapping. Clementi says he believes her abductor then carried her away with her face up, which limited additional blood spatter. Video taken after local authorities released the crime scene shows a concentration of blood drops near the mat at her front door. The trail grows thin and ends where her front walkway meets the edge of the driveway. Oh. The trail grows thin and ends where her front walkway meets the edge of the driveway, which isn't all that far, but yeah. Quote, it rules out more than one person because if two people had control of her as they were leaving the house, she would never have fallen to the ground. They would have been in control of her body and prevented her from resisting and fighting and falling after she was struck in the face. Of course, that's his opinion, right? We've got a couple of different FBI people saying could be one person, could be multiple people. Let's see, Clementi continues. The larger droplets are low velocity blood spatter that fell directly out of her mouth, he said. Her face was facing downward when she coughed up the medium velocity small droplets, and it was within inches of the ground facing straight down. There's no indication of cast off blood spatter, he said, which appears when blood is flung off a moving object. Quote, the lack of directionality of the blood spatter says that those drops fell straight down and she wasn't moving fast, he said. So there is a contradiction in the evidence. I believe this was caused by the fact that she was carried from that first location to the car with her face up, so only a minimum amount of blood was deposited on the walkway. He said it doesn't look like she was dragged and believes she had been struck in the face with a fist or possibly the butt of the suspect's handgun. Or it could have been anything, honestly. Quote, this was not done very quickly because if it had been, the blood should have had a tail moving the direction she was traveling, he said. Dr. Michael Bodden, a famed forensic pathologist, previously told Fox News Digital he suspected that blood drops came from Guthrie's hands or face. Quote, the nature of the blood spots with little pale centers or donut shapes are typical for drops that come from the nose or mouth because they're mixed with air, he said in February. These are not innocent droplets. From the shape, number of droplets, and the place of the droplets outside the house on the porch, they are entirely consistent and indicative of occurring during an abduction. Of course, I hold Dr. Bodden in high esteem as well. So yeah, I mean, a lot of what those three experts said, Bodden, Clementi, and Moore, are compatible, and some of them disagree, right? So very difficult to know what the truth is. The question remains, how did they get away with this? And I think the answer, I think you guys are right. The answer is the FBI wasn't brought in quickly enough, and the sheriff's department just wasn't up for it. Let's see, a couple of chats coming in. In my opinion, Nano's first time on scene case lost friction. Yeah, he shouldn't have even been there, and he should have had more, I guess, experienced investigators, I think. Black Widower is a member for 7 months. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your patronage there. And then thank you, Mooney, for the super chat. Deeply appreciate you, everything that you do for me and the channel. S-Dub says, sad Gavin needs to say no harassment. Yeah, here's the thing, S-Dubs. It is sad. And I'm sorry that I do have to say it. I maintain, and it's not because of me, it's because I have awesome mods. But we have the classiest chat on YouTube, right? But there are a lot of channels that their purpose is to whip people up. Their purpose is to churn people, their emotions, their anger, their fear. They want to whip that up into one homogenous feeling that goes in the middle of your chest that you just don't even know what the feeling is anymore. And it causes people to, I mean, it hooks them on you like an addiction, and it causes them to do things like come up with wild, crazy conspiracies and start inundating tip lines with those conspiracies. I don't think that my viewership does that. I don't think you guys do that. I don't think anybody on this channel does that. Anybody who stays on the channel for any length of time. But here, I'm just going to reiterate, we're not harassing people, guys. We don't do that. That's not who we are, right? If you're a subscriber of mine, you're a viewer of mine, and that is who you are, with love and respect, you can just go away. You probably just don't belong with us. And find your people, I guess, or find your soul. It's probably better. That's horrible, Gavin. Sherry says they don't need to just temper it. They need to go away. Oh, okay, so I'm not the only one who says go away. That's funny. I used to say that to to our kids. I had to repent of it, but it was like when I had it up to here, I would just say, go away. Just please go away. I've had enough. And then one time, our daughter, she was about 10 years old. She told me to go away. I was teasing her. I was like tickling her, I was teasing her or something, because that's kind of who I am. And she just went, go away. I was like, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings. Oh, she learned it from me. And then flashbacks of the TV commercial. You all right? I learned it by watching you. That's how I felt in that moment. So funny. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And it is true, S-Dubs. I do have awesome mods. They are the best. And yeah, kids are the best. That is true too. All right. I think that's all we have on the Nancy Guthrie case. Let me just go back through my notes and check to see what I have prepared here. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. Boy, do I want this woman to be found. I want her to be found alive. I'm not naive. I think it's probably not going to happen, but yeah, I think. Let's see. Coffee Time for D says there was not much compassion tempering yesterday for the family of Celeste. I really hope when you say that everyone understands that for all cases. Yeah, yeah. And we were talking about the family yesterday, about Celeste's family, and that is a tough one. That is because maybe they did know, but also maybe they didn't, and we don't know, right? Coffee Time for D says, I will just let my Spotify play for you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Real Happy says, coming into Gavin laughing is great timing. That's funny. Lucifer says, never ascribe to malice that which is adequately explained by incompetence. That's obviously Hanlon's razor. I think it's idiots everywhere. The perps law enforcement, media, everyone. Could be. And Sherry says, Steve is not wrong. The internet armchair sleuths have been relentless. Yeah. Is it Rianne, Lucas? I have fought from the beginning, and from listening to Savannah, his job was to dismantle the camera. Someone else went to the back because the doors were left open, and they went in and opened the front. That is what she said in her interview with Hoda, right? Yeah. And Berg Strong says maybe she pulled the mask off. So yeah, maybe she saw their faces while they were in the act of a burglary. Coffee time for D. I think they thought she was dead, or she fought and the mask came off, or well, they're idiots. Yeah. Sherry says, poke away. There's so many holes in this investigation already. I wish they would just tell us a little more. I'm positive they have tons. Yeah, I kind of wish they'd give us some more too. Melissa says, any update on the Ellen Greenberg case? She's been on my mind lately. Not that I know about, and I'm in pretty frequent touch. In fact, I'm in touch. No update there. Frida People says, crazy thought. Some plants block absorb radiation to the point it's sometimes used to treat radiation poisoning. Blocking signal. Betel leaf plant was the closest I could find pics that looks. Yeah, I don't know if they're that smart though. I don't know. Possible. Great comment. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for those comments. Now, we still got 5 gallons of this show left, right? We got lots to talk about, including some headlines, an update on the Lily and Jack Sullivan case. We got a strange case of an OnlyFans creator being charged with CSAM violations. And we've got some good news to talk about. But before we get to any of that, let's get to what is one of my favorite segments. It's 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Okie dokie. In this segment, guys, I answer questions that you send in to the email address shown on your screen, 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's spelled out 3questions@gavinfish.com. Gotten several new questions coming in lately, so we're starting to expand the question pool. Again, it had been ever shrinking. If you have a question or 3 or 10 that you would like me to answer, just send it over to 3questions@gavinfish.com. I personally like the kinds of questions where y'all can answer the question. I get to know you while you get to know me, and I think that's fun. So, in a couple of the questions that have come in today, or that I'm answering today, because the promise is I will answer every question. I will not dodge questions. Everything is on the table, but I get to choose the order, and I only do them 3 at a time. So I think we've probably got 18, 20 questions in the queue right now, which is kind of low. So jot down or commit to memory 3questions@gavinfish.com. So I can send in your question, no matter how serious, sarcastic, ridiculous, fun, however, whatever, just send them my way. Okay, first question this one is from Diane G, who sent in a lot of questions a few weeks ago. They've all been good. Diane says, what is your greatest failure and what did you learn from it? And this is something that you guys can answer in the chat as well. I'd love to hear your experience on this. I have shared a little bit that Kimberly and I, years ago, and it's funny how quickly time passes, but we were in a time in our life that I would describe, and I'm not going to lump Kimberly into this because she is steady Eddie, but it was me driving it, and it was at a time where just the economy was booming, real estate prices were going crazy. We had come out of the internet bubble, the .com, the so-called .com bubble of the early 2000s, and we were just doing really well. And we decided that we would sell our business that was a successful operating business in Sacramento, and we would start a new one. And we did it in Reno, Nevada. And it was a business that we knew nothing about. And this isn't half of this story isn't my story to tell. So I'm going to leave out a lot of details. But anyway, we failed disastrously and colossally at that business in Reno. And when that all kind of exploded or imploded, we found ourselves living in we bought it. We probably shouldn't have, but we bought this little townhouse in a really bad area of Reno, and you know, Kimberly was teaching so many fitness classes every week. Plus, she was working graveyard shifts at like a Denny's waiting tables, and maybe just the worst part of Reno. And then I was working a day job trying to be a mortgage banker and not doing very well at it. And then at night, on the 4 nights that she was home, I drove cab and limo. Uh, it was it was hard work. We were constantly tired. We hardly ever really got to spend any time with one another. Our Fortunately, our children always had a parent with them, right? Because Kimberly teaching at the club, she could take the kids with her to the club, and while she was doing her classes, they could be in the little childcare. They were playing, having a good time, and then she could take them swimming afterwards and those kinds of things. So there was always a parent when um, when I would not work those 3 nights and she would work those 3 nights. I was home to put the kids in bed and get them bathed and do all that stuff. And we were just talking about this. She just got home today, and that was our biggest failure. But it may have been our most important one to us because it demonstrated to us, and this is just me talking from my perspective. I'm sure Kimberly would agree, but it demonstrated to us that Kimberly and I are 100% committed to one another. And as a team, we are 100% committed to our children, to our family. And there was never, even through all of that hardship where we're barely making it, and we're both just working so hard. And I mean, I had a truck that had a CD player that I burned 2 songs onto. And those were the only songs that I listened to for maybe 2 years. And it was Tom Petty, I Won't Back Down, and Simon and Garfunkel, The Boxer. And I would cry as I was driving to work. I would cry. And I'm not giving up. I will not back down. Right. And those lyrics, right, where Paul Simon just beautifully describes, you know, the uh, the boxer uh, who I can't remember the lyric perfectly, but every cut that laid him down, or cut him till he cried out in his anger and his shame. I am leaving, but the fighter still remains. Right? I would just cry. I did that for probably 2 years. Um, but it established in our marriage that we were dedicated to one another, and we were dedicated to our children, and there wasn't anything that could break that apart. It zipped us up tight. So that's oh my goodness, the shame that I felt. The shame. But what I learned from it, I learned that my wife is amazing, that together we are super amazing, that our children are amazing, and we got through it. And we came out, and that our parents are amazing. I mean, we got rescued by our parents when we were old enough that we shouldn't have needed rescuing. Um, so yeah, learned a lot. Thanks, Diane, for that question. Appreciate that. And it's fun to go down. That was a painful time, but super important to our family. Zoe, if you could go back and relive any of the dates with your wife, what one would you relive? you know, um, My sweetie pie, my snuggly bear, my one and only. Um, we didn't date very long. Um, there are certain stereotypes of our religious community, and we fit into those stereotypes pretty darn well. Um, we met on the first weekend of July 1999, and we were married on the 19th of November. So, and then the following December, our first child was born. So, just not a lot of time where we really like dated and got to know it. We got to know each other in very important ways, but so but there was when we had already gone on our first date. We're really just kind of feeling each other out. Are we deciding, is this happening? It was like a prolonged 1 or 2 month long, like, that scene in Lady and the Tramp where they're eating the spaghetti and they're falling in love. That's what happened, right? We just had it went over days and weeks and a couple months, but man, within a few months, I was in love. I was done. I was cooked. Uh, but so it was after our first date, and we were just kind of getting to know one another. And I lived with a roommate in a two-bedroom apartment in Fair Oaks, California. She lived in Carmichael, which is a neighboring little suburb. And at the apartment complex, there was a swimming pool and a hot tub and like a playground for kids, people with families and stuff like that. And Kimberly and I, we went out to just kind of like be outside. I think she'd come over, we were in the apartment, and then we just like went outside and we were sitting on like the swing set, and we were just talking, getting to know one another. What are your plans? What are your dreams? What do you want out of life? It's getting serious pretty quickly, but it wasn't like a date. I didn't ask her out. We didn't go to but there we were, and we were getting to know one another, and we were telling each other about our hopes and our dreams and what we want. And um, one of the things that I didn't express vocally, but I wanted a life partner that would be spontaneous. And we were both dressed, right? We were like in our regular, like, I don't know, we had both worked that day. So we were in whatever business casual clothing, whatever, just out there on the swing set and monkey bars talking. And I think I just was like, I want to go swimming. You want to go swimming? And she goes, yeah. And so I'm like, all right. And then I just run and I jump in the pool. And by the time my head is above water again, I can see that she's already in. She jumped in the pool too. And we swam in our clothes and laughed and laughed and laughed. Had a really good time. I would love to relive that date. I often do in my mind. That was fun. That was fun. Okay, Wizard of Ezzy. What are some of the things you did to earn money in high school and college? Um, okay, yeah. So for me, it was always the plan that I was going to be a missionary. That again, in our religious tradition, that's kind of what young men do. And so at the time, I had to be 19 in order to do it. And I graduated when I was 17, graduated high school when I was 17. And I ended up having more than 2 years between the time I graduated and the time I went on my mission. And so let's see, in high school, I had two jobs. The first was as a stock boy of Susie's Casuals in the Sunrise Mall in Citrus Heights, California. And I was the guy that would unbox the stock. I would steam it. It was all women's clothing. And I was the only guy who worked in the place. You know, had lots of coworkers that were awesome. And I thought they were so old. They were probably like, I don't know, 25 or something, something like that. But yeah, I would unbox the shipments and I would get them steamed and pressed sometimes, and then get them organized and get them out out on the floor. Later on, I became a salesperson. I went, they liked having a high school age young man working in a women's clothing store. Got to got to meet lots of people that I ended up really liking. Um, and then as I got a little bit older, so like 16 years old, I got a job as a portrait photographer at JCPenney Portrait Studio. That's right. That's right. I was a photographer at JCPenney Portrait Studio. I think I worked that job my entire senior year of high school. And then when I graduated from high school, I got an opportunity because I had to pay for a mission. Um, my dad, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? My dad got me a job on a construction site that paid way more, like double. And I was able to work those 2 years, um, getting paid well and saving so that I could afford to pay for my mission. And then my parents, because they're awesome, when it came time to go on a mission, they said, you know what, if you can just get yourself there, buy all your clothing and, your luggage and all the stuff that it takes to get on a mission, we'll pay for your mission while you're there, which was awesome. That meant that I had some savings and stuff like that. It was really cool. So yeah, and that was construction. I was the guy that swept up behind the people doing the real work, right? And then, over the course of a couple years, I started doing carpentry and uh, you know, I went from like sweeping to caulking to uh, digging ditches to, whatever, scraping things so they can be painted to finally I was doing framing and stuff like that. But that's that's what I did. Then when I came home from Argentina and I tried college, I hated it. I worked first for American Express in a call center, and then later for Packard Bell NEC in a call center, and that led me to my tech school that I ultimately, went through that whole process at NEC Computers through Packard Bell University. So, those are your three questions, guys. And that was you guys do like to ask questions about me, and I like to hear I like to read how you respond to some of these questions. So hopefully you're putting that in the live chat and in the comments. And while you're doing that, let's take a look at what else is happening in the world of true crime. It's headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okay, this coming to us from CTV News, Jonathan McInnes. The search for Lily and Jack Sullivan continues, and we touched on this a little bit yesterday too. But I want to keep on this one. These poor little kiddos they just dropped off the face of the earth. They're just gone, and that's not okay. Searchers were back in the woods in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, Sunday, as the search for Lily and Jack Sullivan continues almost 1 year after the siblings were first reported missing. About 50 people scoured the woods looking for any sign of 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack. A cadaver dog was also part of the search. We have a cadaver dog here. The Sullivan children were reported missing from the Gerlach Road home on the morning of May 2nd, 2025. Wow. We're coming up on a year, man. We're just a few days away. Police and search and rescue teams conducted multiple air, ground, and water searches, but the children were never found. This weekend, the Ontario-based group Please Bring Me Home conducted the search. The group first joined the effort to find the children in November of 2025. The province of Nova Scotia is offering a reward of up to $150,000 for information about the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan. And I think that is it. And we learned yesterday that Malia Brooks Murray, the children's mother, was there for the search as well. Here's a story off of CrimeCod. Now, CrimeCod is my website, crimecod.com. You can go to gavinfish.com. You can go to the link in the description. And this is our true crime website. We used to be posting 1 or 2 articles a day. Now it's more like 4, 5, 6 articles a day. We're ramping this up. There's also a newsletter that I send out weekly on Tuesdays. It's kind of a true crime weekly roundup. So go to CrimeCod, subscribe to the newsletter. You would join about 2,800 other people on that list, and I promise not to spam. I just send it once a week, and yeah, it's just little like blurb from me about what it is that we did over the last week, some links to Spotify and YouTube, and to some CrimeCod articles. It's not overwhelming, and it doesn't fill up your inbox. Once a week. Okay, this written by Sylvia Torres, Indiana OnlyFans creator charged with child exploitation, possession of CSAM. Dateline, Westfield, Indiana. Elizabeth Creekmore. Elizabeth, someone needs to talk to you about the dangers of plastic surgery. I'm sorry. Anyway, Elizabeth Creekmore, 41, of Westfield, was charged April 22nd in Hamilton County Superior Court with 4 counts of exploitation and 4 counts of possession of CSAM, according to court information cited in local reports. A warrant for her arrest was issued April 23rd. Investigators allege Creekmore used a 5-year-old girl in sexual content connected to her OnlyFans activity in order to attract adult male subscribers. Reported details from the investigation say the evidence included images and videos, including material that allegedly... Okay, we're going to stop. Gavin's got to stop. You can go to CrimeCod. There's a link in the description below. You can read more. I suggest that you do, but the children cases, man, just kill me. There's got to be a special prison, right? There's got to be a special prison for people that do this kind of thing for their children. Wanda, I need a little transition music. Wanda's filling up Wanda. I didn't know they were in the waiting area. I think these are Wanda's grandkids. All right, Wanda's going to give us some transition music. Let's we're going to put the good news up, and then okay, Wanda, let's hear it.
We follow the clues in mysteries and crime, looking for answers one step at a time. We learn how the truth can hide out of sight, but we keep smiling still because finding it's right.
That was delightful, kids. And I loved how you sang in unison. I was expecting harmony, but the unison, that was really nice, and it got me in a better mood. Thank you very much for that transition music, Wanda and grandchildren. Okay, here is from the Good News Network. And that might be the cutest little rodent-looking marsupial I've ever seen in my life. It looks like a cross between like a hairy pig, a mouse, and an anteater. It's adorable. It says, once extinct in the wild, bandicoot marsupial to be released across Australia after being bred for survival. Lots of good news coming out of Australia and New Zealand recently. In Australia, reads the article, the eastern barred bandicoot... You guys make up words, okay? You're making up words, but that's a delightful and adorable little thing, so I'll allow it. In Australia, the eastern barred bandicoot was declared extinct in the wild in 1991, after the population dwindled to just 60 living at a landfill site in Victoria. I think these are just tiny little, like, rodent-sized little marsupials. So they were little rodents living at a landfill in Victoria. Okay, but now, continues the article, the marsupial has been bred for survival and will be released into a half-dozen reintroduction sites across the country after previous attempts to reintroduce it failed because of inbreeding. Inbreeding, you say? How did you overcome that? Let's continue. In the world-first gene mixing approach, Mainland Australian bandicoots have been bred with those from Tasmania. Two genetically distinct populations isolated from each other for more than 10,000 years. Brilliant. The small native marsupials became extinct after the ecosystem was devastated by invasive species like rabbits, along with feral cats and foxes that became predators across the huge island. The genetic rescue program was led by the Odonata Foundation, Caesar Australia, and the Eastern Barred Bandicoot Recovery Team. Animal survival isn't the only benefit. The land will improve too. Burrowing by the chipmunk-sized bandicoots. These are chipmunk-sized. Look at that. Look how adorable they are. They look like they've got little like front legs like a piglet has. They don't look like a little clawed chipmunk. It looks like they've got cloven hooves almost. I can't tell though from the anyway. Burrowing by the chipmunk-sized bandicoots improves soil health and strengthens landscapes against flood and drought. The latest plan. Oh, now we can see the actual size. Look at that image. That's a tiny little guy. Okay, the latest plan to reintroduction. The latest plan to reintroduction aims to build a population of at least 500 animals across a minimum of 5 different locations. It ensures animals are geographically dispersed and less likely to be wiped out by natural disaster. That goal of climate resilience resonates with Amazon.com's Right Now Climate Fund, which donated $2.5 million to help restore endangered species in Australia. 30 years ago, these bandicoots were gone from mainland Australia, said Michael Miller, an Amazon VP for the fund, which was established in 2019 with $100 million to help communities in Europe become more climate resilient, using nature-based solutions to enhance biodiversity along with their key partner, the Nature Conservancy. Continuing the quote, what makes their recovery incredible is the science behind it, a genetic rescue program which is science-backed, scalable, and transformative for conservation. Look at that little guy. The same methodology could help save endangered animals all over the world. The 3-year project will help save the eastern barred bandicoot and other species, including the eastern quoll. Is that another word that you guys made up? And southern brush-tailed rock wallaby. Quick fact, southern brush-tailed rock wallaby is a band that I was in the 90s. It was a cross between, it was like a transformational band between 80s hair anthem rock and grunge. And it was, I mean, we didn't have that much success. It turns out, I think maybe we were a little ahead of our time, but I'm sure if you look on YouTube, you can find old videos of Southern Brush-Tailed Rock Wallaby playing at different venues throughout Orangevale and Citrus Heights, California. Anyway, Dr. Andrew Weeks, director of Caesar Australia and science advisor to Odonata, perfectly summed it up. Quote, we've built a fit, feisty bandicoot population with far greater genetic health and a much better chance of survival than their inbred predecessors. And that is an adorable little animal, and that definitely is good news. Ah, oh, those guys are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie, let's finish up tonight. Archangel, with your comments. Archangel is asking, are there any news about Amy Hilliard? That is one that I search every day. I haven't seen any new articles since yesterday. She is still missing. And I will keep, the reason I didn't share anything about that in headlines tonight was there wasn't anything new since yesterday. So, but yeah, I'll keep watching, keep on the lookout. That is a case that we want to know. And we want a happy resolution, right? Trish Norman saying, yeah, you married up, Gavin. Of course I did. Yeah. Guys, listen. The world deserves good and handsome children. And so I had to find a good and beautiful woman. And I did. and got her to jump in a pool with me. So she's rad. Um, Frida People says, Gavin, trying to be indiscriminately helpful to people before I knew what they were about. Sometimes it blows up spectacularly. Not my responsibility to fix everything. That's your biggest mistake. Yeah, that's it's good that you learned from that. Um, Frida says another not giving up song. Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba. Yeah, I get knocked down. That's a good one. That's a good one. Mooney says, question 2. I would go back to the day I met my husband, my hubby, Blizzard in West Virginia, met him playing a drinking game, quarters. I lost but met my lifelong partner. We walked the mountain all night long in the snow. Yeah. Look for a best friend. For those of you on the lookout for a spouse or a life partner, you're looking for a friend. You're looking for your best friend. Oftentimes that friend is already in the friend zone. So if you're wondering where all the good men are and you have men in your friend zone, that's where they are. You're looking for a best friend. Looks like Mooney found one. I definitely found one. I'm grateful our oldest daughter, who is married, found one, a best friend. Coffee Time for D says, don't forget to ask us to hype your videos once the live is over, and it is where you can rewatch it. You can hype it up too. Yeah, I need to be better at that. Thanks, guys. Thank you for sharing and sharing with friends who you think might like content like this. You guys are awesome. Ohio Palm Mom says, Gavin, in high school, I shelved books at a children's room at the public library. I also worked at the feed store and traded for boarding my horse. That's a great story. And I love how many stories like that there are. Like, teenage kid wants horse. Horse expensive. Most expensive part of horse is boarding horse. Right? So working at the feed store to board your horse. I love stories like that. I just love stories like that. I I did a couple stories on the county fair last summer and found so many stories that were just like that. You know, it's so cool. Plus, hanging out in the public library is not a bad way to spend your time as a teenager in high school. Colleen says, OMG, I was thinking the same thing about our lips, but I didn't know how my comment would be received. Yeah, that was very judgy of me. There is such thing as too much. Okay. I don't begrudge a person a little nip and tuck, a little injecty. I don't begrudge anybody any of that. In fact, I only half jokingly say to Kimberly, I would like to take the Turkish Express and get this hairline addressed. Like, I don't begrudge anybody like that, but it's very easy to cross a line, man. Very easy to cross a line. AC says the same thing. I'm so glad you said it about the plastic surgery because I sure was thinking it looking at those lip fillers. Yeah. Garth Beanut says, in high school, I worked at a hosiery mill and I operated a knitting machine that made socks. Get out. How cool is that? That's cool. I love it. Love it. See if there's any a couple other comments. They look like they have their own Disney movie. Yeah, those little bandicoots, they are adorable. Mooney says, we have chipmunks all over our land. I love my garden though. Hey, here where I am in Western Pennsylvania, when I was growing up in Utah, I lived in the Uinta Basin in Utah, a little town called Peoa. Beautiful place. We had these little chipmunk creatures that we just called pot guts. I don't know why they're called pot guts, but I think they're technically like I don't know, seven striped chipmunk, or I don't know what their actual thing is. But when we moved here to Western Pennsylvania, they have out here what they call they call them ground squirrels. But I was like, that's a pot gut. And pot guts can't be native to Utah and Pennsylvania. And so I did a little research. Sure enough, they are pot guts. Somebody brought them back uh, close by to Western Pennsylvania, like in the 1940s, and they exploded in population. So it's just so weird that an animal that is really only native to one specific place in North America is also just everywhere out here in Western Pennsylvania since the 1940s. Kind of crazy. Tiff Knox says, rad, your California is showing. Yeah, I like that word. I like that word a lot. Guys, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it, especially after the night I had and the day that I had today. I just haven't been feeling well, but I sure am glad that we came here and spent some time with one another. Don't forget that you can always visit my old website, gavinfish.com. There's a description down below. Also, crimecod.com, you can subscribe to the Crime Cod newsletter. You will receive it with 2,800 other of your closest friends, and it goes out on Tuesdays. It's, I don't know, it's fun for me to write something and send it out, and I just appreciate how you guys support me by by subscribing to the newsletter. And then basically what it does is it drives, it'll show you things maybe you've missed, things that I've written or have said or have shared, or a live stream that you may have missed. And so it's, I appreciate you subscribing if you do. Join us on Facebook in the Fish Tank. Just search Gavin Fish, True Crime. You'll find it. Or if you go to my website, you can click on the little fish icon in the menu, and that will take you right there. There are about 6,200 of us there. And of course, I'm all over social media. And you can listen to this as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch the video on Spotify Premium Video if you are a subscriber there. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you. You're the best. I will see you on the next one. I bid you adieu. Until next time, please take care of yourselves. Good night. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.